Hello everyone, my name is John Benson. I'm an attorney and I'm a partner at the law firm of Penglase and Benson, which is a firm located in Doylestown, Pennsylvania, just about 50 miles north of Philadelphia, Pennsylvania. And I am so excited that you have decided to download and watch this presentation on how to get rid of your debt and get a fresh start in as little as 1 hour. Now, what we're going to be talking about today is really important, and it's a topic that is affecting so many millions of Americans today, and it's the debt that we have all been accruing. We were accruing this massive amount of debt that was weighing us down before the pandemic, and unfortunately with the pandemic, it got even worse. Welcome to my home. This is pandemic time, so we are here, but the information I am giving you goes out far past pandemic. It is going to be applicable whether there's a pandemic or not, and it is designed to really help you get rid of that anchor that is weighing you down. The presentation, while it says get rid of it as little as 1 hour, the presentation is not an hour. The work that you're going to have to do to try and get rid of that debt, that would take you about an hour, but the presentation will be a lot shorter. Our goal at the very end of the presentation is that you are going to be able to go through all the information that is out there, get rid of and filter all of that stuff that is just chopped away at your ears and everything that you're hearing, and give you a fresh perspective on how you can deal with this and give you the information and the tools that you will need to deal with your debt. There is so much talk about debt reduction and how to get rid of debt. You can find a million things on the internet. It's kind of like trying to research how much time you have to spend quarantined. No matter who you talk to, you're always going to get a different perspective, and you don't know which to listen to, and it becomes so confusing. I'm here to cut through all of that so you have a nice, clear picture. Now, why am I so passionate about this? Because I've lived through this. When I was very young, my parents were business owners. My dad was a home builder. He built custom homes. They were beautiful homes. They still stand today. They were handmade. He used a hammer and nails, not one of those nail guns. Everything was custom built, and it was really high quality. And he put his blood, his sweat, his tears into every home. They're beautiful. The problem is he wasn't a very good businessman, and therefore he couldn't understand why no one knew these homes existed and no one came and bought the homes. And so they sat there in the market and they incurred debt service. And his debt got higher and higher because he was the one who was paying for all the materials that was going into these homes, and he wasn't getting anything back. And he would come home at the end of every day and he'd be really tired from working out on the job site all day long. But the job wasn't done. Then he had to come home and he had to face the bills. And you could see the pain in his eyes when he would deal with that. It was beating him down every day, and he lost so much sleep because the bills kept stacking up. And he didn't see any way out of it. He couldn't figure out, no matter how hard he worked, why he couldn't get ahead. He was losing sleep trying to figure out, how's the mortgage going to get paid? How's food going to get on the table? How are Christmas presents going to be purchased? My mom had a similar problem. She not only had to be helping my father through all this, and she was the one who was writing the checks, but she would be tending things at home, and she would get up at 5, sometimes 4 in the morning to go out to the garden to pick raspberries so that she could have some raspberries to take down to the local store and sell so that we would have money for weekly food. And that became exhausting to her. And so some of these stories may sound familiar to you. Maybe you are losing sleep because the bills keep racking up and you don't know if you're going to be able to stay in the home that you're in right now. And you don't know what to tell the kids if they have to be pulled out of school to move to a new location. Or maybe you don't know how to tell a spouse how bad things really are. And you're losing that sleep. You're avoiding the phone because it's a debt collector. You're avoiding the mail because there's going to be a collection notice or maybe something from court. And all this is just eating away at you. And what we want to try and do in this little presentation is give you the tools so that you don't have to live like that. You can take care of the debt in a responsible way, in a way that you won't have to deal with it anymore. And now you can move forward. You can start to rebuild your credit. You can have money to go out and purchase the things that you need, or start saving for that future that you keep putting off because you don't have to deal with those debt payments any longer. And so that is what our goal today is to cut through the clutter and give you the tools that you need and make it as concise and simple for you as possible. Now, like I said, there are a million things out there that are competing for your attention, trying to tell you, what you should be dealing with, what issues you should use, what type of payment plans you should be concerned with. And so these are just some of the ones that are out there that are competing for your attention. I want to talk about a number of these. The ones that you're most likely going to see are the credit counseling, the debt management, and the debt settlement. Let's talk about those. Credit counseling is great. It is good to understand why credit can be bad. It is good to be able to identify good credit from bad credit. It is good to understand why you need to save and pay yourself first and make sure that you're always saving and not just spending. But if you get the credit counseling, that's going to help you move forward once you get rid of those payments. But if you don't have any money, you can't really save. The credit counseling is not going to do a whole lot for that debt that you already have to deal with. And therefore, it's probably not going to be a real good fit on its own for you. What about the debt management and the debt settlement? Well, debt management is where you're basically going to restructure some of the debt. You're not going to get rid of it. You're just going to, instead of maybe having 14 balls, combine it down into 12 balls. But you still have to deal with those bills. You're just repackaging them, but you still owe all the money. With the debt settlement, companies are going to come forward and they're going to say that if you pay them, they will go out, they will go to your creditors, and they will try to negotiate your debt and try and get some of the debt to go away. Here's the problem. Your creditors don't have to deal with these debt settlement companies. So these debt settlement companies will take your money that you don't have a lot of to begin with, go and call your creditors and say, hey, would you make some of the debt go away? And these creditors don't have to listen to them. They don't have to do anything. They can sit there and say, look, we have a contract and we're entitled to this money and we want the money. And more now, as times get a little tougher for everyone, that's exactly what they're doing. So these debt management and debt settlement companies sometimes not only don't deliver what they promise to deliver, sometimes they're just scams altogether. And you can't tell the good companies from the bad companies. So a lot of these companies, they're just taking your money, money that you don't really have to begin with, and they're going to try and deliver something to you. And at the end of the day, you're still stuck with this debt. You still have to pay it. It is still an anchor. There's still going to be lawsuits involved. There could still be evictions that are going on. And so while these look interesting, they're not going to really make the debt go away. They're not going to give you that fresh start. They're just going to, in some instances, delay the inevitable. So what is something that you could do that would filter out these problems and allow you to move forward? The one thing that you can do is you can look into bankruptcy. Now, I know the second I use the word, everyone has these negative connotations of what bankruptcy is, and that's because we've learned through the years and stories handed down through generations of all the dangers of bankruptcy. Most of those are just myths. My father didn't use it because he listened to some of the myths. He didn't do his own research. He didn't know how to look into these things. And he was a proud man and decided, I'm not going to deal with it. So instead, he had to sit there and mire in all of his problems month after month, year after year, with no hope in sight, until finally he had to give up being a builder altogether and take a job from someone else. So how can you use this for good and to honestly and responsibly take care of your debt? Well, bankruptcy, unlike those other things that we talked about, is something that is recognized by the government. It is backed by the government. When you deal with bankruptcy, you will go to federal bankruptcy court. It is a federal court specifically set up to handle these problems. So it is set up and recognized by the government. Here's the best part. Even if you're about ready to go to court, even if the sheriffs are on their way to take some of your things, The minute you file for bankruptcy protection, you get an automatic stay from any type of collection proceedings, which means all the creditors have to come to a complete stop until the bankruptcy court has had a chance to analyze your situation and to make a ruling as to whether certain debts are going to be discharged or restructured. They will be discharged if you're going for maybe a Chapter 7. They can be restructured if you're going for what's known as a Chapter 13. And we can worry about those differences later. Right now, we're just going to focus really on bankruptcy and Chapter 7, which will discharge a lot of that debt, and is the chapter that is used by the majority of Americans today. So when you file for this, you're going to get that automatic stay. So instantly, the minute you file, you don't have to worry about the phone ringing anymore. You don't have to worry about what's in the mailbox. It's going to buy you some time until the court can look at it, and the court will decide what is to go away. And if they decide something is going to discharge, or if they decide that something has to be restructured, the creditors are going to have to pretty much follow in suit. So now the creditors have to listen to you. Now you have the upper hand. Now they're going to have to negotiate in a way that is going to help you. And the whole goal here is to get rid of the debt or restructure the debt if you were to go for a Chapter 13, so that you can now move forward. And we can talk about all the various myths of bankruptcy later, but let's just look at what you would have to do if you decide that you want to go for bankruptcy protection. If you want to go for it, you can do it a number of ways. You can file on your own, and if you look right below here, you will see some resources that we've included that you can use for your own bankruptcy application. We want to make it nice and easy for you. You can also do it if you have the help of a trained attorney who knows how to navigate some of these things and can make this process a lot easier. And again, there is a button you will see at the bottom there that will allow you to connect with us for a free and confidential consultation. But let's look at making the application yourself. When you make the application for bankruptcy, whether by yourself or someone else, you all start off with credit counseling. You're going to have to go to the credit counseling. We mentioned what credit counseling was earlier. When you go for the credit counseling, they are going to help train you so that you start worrying about good credit, bad credit, the value of saving, the problems that come with expenses. And the government's hope here is that you're going to start putting into practice some good skills here, so that you don't have to file for bankruptcy protection again, so you don't have to deal with this problem later on, which is a great thing. So the first thing that you'll have to do is the credit counseling. Now, after you've done the credit counseling, then you're going to do what we call a means test. Now, a means test is a test that the federal government is going to require you to go through, and they're going to analyze the income that you have. They're going to look at what your current monthly income is, and then they're going to compare it with the average monthly income in your state for a family your size. So if you have a family of 4, maybe husband, wife, 2 kids, they're going to look at what your monthly income is, and then they're going to compare that to what the state's median monthly income is for a 4-person family. If you are below what the state median amount is, so if you're making less than what on average families of 4 are making in your state, then you would qualify to move on towards the bankruptcy application. If you do not meet that test, if you are above what the state's median income is, it doesn't mean you can't file for bankruptcy protection, but you are going to have to fill out an additional form and pass an additional test. We can talk about that later. It's a form similar to what you see here, Form 122A-2. You'd have to take that test, and if you didn't pass that test, then you're either not going to be able to file for bankruptcy protection, or you may have to look at a different type of chapter, say Chapter 13, for bankruptcy protection. But right now we're going to assume that you passed the test and that you're going to move on. The form you're looking at now is a copy of the form that you would use to file for bankruptcy protection with the bankruptcy court. And again, there is a link to this at the bottom of the presentation in the one page. So I direct you there. So you're going to have to fill out your Form 122A-1. it's going to ask you a lot of questions regarding your assets and your liabilities. So it's going to be helpful if you go around and you gather together all the financial information about all of your assets and all of your liabilities. You can do this on your own. If you were to go with an attorney, have a consult with them, they would walk you through the whole process and help you gather these documents and help you find the numbers that you're going to need to fill out this form. Because once you've passed the mean test and you've made your application, you're going to be going through the third step, and that is, are you really bankrupt? And by that we mean you're going to look and see, is the value of your assets greater or less than the value of your liabilities? If the amount of your assets are less than the amount that you owe, then yes, you are bankrupt. And you're going to have to show the government this. If the value of your assets exceeds the amount of your liabilities, so you have more in assets than you have liabilities, well, again, it doesn't necessarily mean you're not going to get bankruptcy protection, but you may have to restructure your bankruptcy to a Chapter 13 where they're not going to be discharging debt, they're going to be restructuring the debt for you. Again, if you meet with an experienced attorney, they can help you make that determination before you go through having to make this long application, go through the test, and then maybe having to switch to something later on because you made a mistake. But let's say that you've looked at everything, you're relatively sure that your assets are less than your liabilities, you fill the form out, and then you're going to file and get the bankruptcy protection. With that bankruptcy protection, it is going to give you that stay, so it's going to stop the collection activities. If they don't have a judgment for your landlord, you can even stop eviction proceedings there. So for a lot of people that are facing a cold winter because you can't pay the rent, you can't pay the mortgage because you don't have the money, this will help protect you. But again, you want to make sure that your assets are going to be less than your liabilities. You will file the petition. It will go through the court system. They will evaluate everything. You will probably have one meeting with the creditors where you're going to be meeting with a bankruptcy trustee, and then a determination will finally be made. Are they going to discharge and get rid of those debts and allow you to move forward? Or does some things have to be restructured so that they can be paid off in a responsible manner? The final thing that you'll need to do before you file for your bankruptcy protection is there's going to be various fees. There's going to be fees to the bankruptcy court. If you have hired an attorney, there's going to be some legal fees that you're going to have to pay for someone to help you with this process so you can make it as smooth as possible. And so if you hire an attorney, well, the attorney is there to make sure that you've looked at everything properly, you've accounted for everything properly. If there's any type of exceptions, you've used all those exceptions, so you've protected everything that you can. But obviously there is a fee for those services, so all those fees are generally paid up front, so you want to make sure that you have that, and then you will be filing for your protection. So that, in a nutshell, is bankruptcy. And the beauty is that it is a recognized form and a responsible form of dealing with your debts. If you have a successful Chapter 7 bankruptcy filing, you will be able to discharge a good majority of your debts, and then you can move forward. Recently, we had a client, we will just call her Melanie. She came in and she was weighted down. She was a single individual. She had more than $70,000 in debt. She was already being sued by one creditor, and two more creditors were preparing to file suit, and she had no idea what to do, nowhere to turn to. We were able to, even though there was a suit in process, we were able to file for her right away. We stopped everything in its tracks regarding that suit. She went through the bankruptcy protection, and here's the beauty of it. She emerged on the other side, and she got rid of $70,000 in debt that she otherwise would have been strapped with, and she would have spent days and months and years trying to pay off, all the while putting her dreams on hold because she can't get forward. She'd be spending so much money on interest and principal payments that she couldn't take a step forward. When she came in, she wasn't sleeping because she didn't know where to go. She had exhausted all of her resources. She was so tired of even just looking on the internet trying to figure out what to do, and she threw up her hands and she felt there was nowhere to go other than to let the courts have at her, and she would just deal with it that way. And now she has a chance for a fresh start. She has the ability to now start using the money that she would have paid for those debt services that were weighing her down, and she's now able to save that money. She's able to start making purchases again with a credit card. She's able to build up her credit balance again. She's able to do the things that she had put on hold. She no longer has to worry about the phone ringing. If it is, it's probably her mom calling to see how she is. She no longer worries when she goes to the post office or to open up her mailbox, because the envelopes in there are credit card offers and letters from friends. She has that fresh start. The amount of time it took for her to get all of that information together and to get the filing was just a little over an hour for her. So you can see in just that short amount of time, you can make all those problems that have been weighing you down and keeping you up and holding you back, and you can address them face on in a responsible manner and then deal with it and get that fresh start for your family. Get that fresh start for yourself. Get that fresh start for your future. If you have any questions, I hope that you will reach out. You will see at the bottom of this presentation, at the bottom of the one page here, you will see a link not only for the credit counseling, so that you can just click on that link, get the credit counseling that you're going to need in order to file for the bankruptcy protection. You will also see a link for the application for a Chapter 7 bankruptcy, so if you want to complete that, you can. If you're not sure, is this the right option for you? If you are not sure which chapter you should be filing for, if you are not sure how can I protect everything as much as possible so I don't have to worry about losing anything in the process, if you want to help make sure that you have the best possible filing going forward, you can contact us for a completely private and free consultation. You will see the link at the bottom there. All you have to do is look right down at the bottom of the screen there. You will see a link that will allow you to go right to our calendar and to make that free consultation appointment at your convenience. Just click on that, and in a short period of time we can be talking and we can advise you as to what your best recourse is so that you can make an informed decision. Well, I hope this information has helped you. I hope it has brought some value for you, but most importantly, I hope it is giving you some peace of mind. Thank you very much for attending. We wish you success in everything that we're doing. We wish you any type of success that you can possibly have with your bankruptcy filing if you decide that that's the way to go. And if you need to talk to us, we do look forward to talking to you. Have a great day, and I look forward to talking to you in the very, very near future. Take care, everybody. Bye-bye.